Everybody, welcome back to the TeamCosmicBodies YouTube channel. I'm Coach Kyle. You're gonna see Coach Lauren in a second. And today's video is going to be kind of like a low back. Maybe you have pain going in your calf, going in under your knee, into your hamstring, into your glutes. You have some nerve pain, you have something coming from your low back, you strain something, tight muscles back there in your low back. These are just some stretches and exercises you can do to overcome it. I do think if the pain is bad enough, if it's an actual injury that you remember happening, you should go to a doctor, go see a physical therapist, go see someone who specializes in that type of stuff. This is just, I've had a lot of low back injuries for the past 7, 8, 9 years. I've seen many different physical therapists and chiropractors. And so yeah, I have, at one point I had a lot of herniated discs and bulging discs and degenerated discs that won't ever heal. And some of it is genetic and some of it is improper technique in the gym and not warming up well enough. Not having a strong enough core and glutes and deadlifting and stuff like that. So definitely make sure you're preventing injury and moving weight correctly and warming up correctly and all that basic stuff. But yeah, we send out a lot of this stuff to our clients, certain stretches and exercises. So I finally want to do it all in one video, put it up on our team page and be able to send it out 10-15 minute video on some stuff you can do at home that really do work. They're very practical and yeah, this is just from start to finish of what I would do if I have a hiccup. Even now, even after seeing many physical therapists and feeling healthy, and next thing you know, I'm doing something in the gym and I feel tightness, a pinch, nerve pain, start to finish, a lot of stuff I've learned. So, okay, the first one is going to be if you have unaligned hips. And again, I just want to say this one time, I'm not a doctor. This is just through my experience. Some of this you can do if you feel comfortable with, if you have the resources and stuff like that, and it might help. I mean, you're probably not going to hurt yourself worse, but if you do feel something like, oh, I shouldn't do this, don't do it. Go see a doctor, go see a specialist. So yeah, this first one is if your hips are kind of unaligned, you have, honestly, I have pain going into my glute and then through in the back of my knee, so I know it's coming from my lumbar. And this isn't a huge thing, but I had a physical therapist do this, where you see chiropractors do this. You realign your hips, so if your ankles are not aligned, if your toes are kind of not aligned, but more so the ankles, and you can check if your hips are unaligned or not, and this could help, and you're using your own body to realign it too, your own muscles, and you do need assistance and have some help. You could do it by yourself, so I'll show you 2 ways, but the first way is just to see if they're aligned or not. So you go down into the bed. Hopefully you get something a little bit more sturdy than a bed, like a hard mattress, like what you see in physical therapists or massage places. So you go into a glute bridge, right? And then you go down, and then you kind of straighten your legs, and you want to see if your ankles are unaligned or not. So the person that's going to help you might look over at your ankles and see if one ankle is like this, if they're unaligned. And what you can do is if the one that is maybe longer, you'd work on the shorter side. So if I have pain going in my left side, I'm going to realign my hips and go down into this position. And then, Lauren, you can help me. But basically, she's going to be putting pressure.
Oh, no, top that.
There you go. So basically, she's going to be putting pressure down on this leg as I push up with this leg. Okay? Like that. And I'm pushing her up, and she's pushing me down. And I just felt something.
You just grab.
I just felt something a little bit. And so what I could do is kind of go back and do a glute bridge. You can check it again. Or you can try it again. If you felt like you just want to you can kind of realign your glute off of it a little bit like this and get ready to push down. I push up and then that's basically it. The next way to do this if you were by yourself is you basically could just be pushing into the bed yourself. If you want to come over here, Lauren. Which I've never had to really do this because I've had Lauren to help me. So if you're by yourself and you want to try and realign your hips, you can basically go against the bed yourself and push, yourself into it. And this is a tip Sean gave me, like that, and push it yourself. But honestly, I think doing it with someone is a lot better. But you could probably skip this step if you feel uncomfortable doing that, right? If your partner or if you. But I like it. It actually really does help. Yeah, we got it just then. Because we just tried it earlier on the bed. And this bed actually worked a lot better. So you can actually skip that part if you don't want to do that. This one is something I think you can do with either a chair or this ball. So this is a way you can do traction, right? Sometimes there's traction machines, right? The ones that flip you upside down. You ever see people strap their ankles up and they hang upside down? Or you can just hang from a pull-up bar. So there's a couple ways you can do traction. You can just hold yourself from a pull-up bar like this. You could get into one of those machines where you get strapped by the ankles and you're upside down. You can do it on the edge of a chair. You can do it on the edge of a bed. But I like using a ball, and I wish it was a little bit bigger of a ball, but this is a way you can do traction. You can do it for 5 to 10 minutes, and you can do this daily. And the idea here is there's going to be a little bit of distance in between my low back and hips and the ground when I get into position, and it's traction. It's decompressing your spine and your lumbar. So you go into this position. And basically you can just sit here like this for 5 to 10 minutes. Okay? And this is obviously super safe to do compared to maybe you feel a little bit less comfortable doing the first thing. So the next main stretch, and this is the big stretch that I think all of you should do, is it's a rotational lateral lumbar stretch. And a lot of people mess up on this, but it's huge. You could do both sides. You could do this stretch for up to 9 minutes. I mean, you could be stretching for 9 to 15 minutes doing these stretches right now. Or you can just do it for 3 to 6 minutes, and it would actually really still help. So you do traction, and then you do this stretch. Basically, I'm gonna put this foot in the middle, in line with my spine, and then whatever foot, whatever knee you go over, that's the leg you go down, okay? So I'm putting my right leg over my left leg, and then I'm gonna go down on the right side, and I'm gonna stretch my lumbar here, like this. This is when I do some nice deep breaths. I calm myself. I have my shoulders on the ground. And I mean, sometimes your range of motion could be like right here, and they could be hurting. And just, relax, and next thing you know, like this is actually pretty good range of motion. Okay, so remember, whatever foot you go over, that foot, that's the way you go down. Okay, so on this side, I'm gonna do the other side. So let's say I just did that for 30 seconds, up to 1.5 minutes. And then you're gonna do my left foot over my right leg. So if my left foot is over, I'm gonna go down on my left side. And I'm gonna do this for 30 seconds to 1.5 minutes. And I can just do it 3 different times. I mean, I can do this, this way for 30 seconds, that way for 30 seconds, and then just keep going, basically. And then after that, sometimes if I like to go straight into a glute stretch, where it's also a piriformis stretch. So you see in this piriformis stretch, a lot of time it's a yoga pigeon pose, but it's right here, and I'm gonna pull my knee towards my chest, and then I'm here. So I just did the rotational lateral lumbar stretch. Now this is a piriformis stretch, which is deep in your hip and glute right here. And then if I want to isolate the glute more, I can grab my ankle, grab my knee, and kind of just move it around like this. But right, so this is a piriformis stretch. Grab it towards the chest, go to the opposite shoulder, and then if I want to isolate, this is really deep in my glute. If I want to isolate different parts of my glute, like let's say you just did lunges yesterday, like I did, or 2 days ago, I can go like this, and kind of start isolating different parts of my glute, right? People do this in yoga. It's the pigeon pose, right? You're sitting here like this, right? And those poses can be really helpful. Doing the child's pose, going into this pose, right? Like going into that. Doing a cat, cow. Like those are good stuff you could be doing for your lumbar even. The next thing I would want to do is, this is going to help you engage some of these smaller muscles deep in your core, multifidus muscles. And these are the ones that really cling together and protect your spine, but also if you re-engage them. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be on my back like this, and what I'm going to do is there is a space in between your low back and the ground when you're in that position. And so this is basically, you're going to be taking away that space in the ground and bringing yourself into like basically a posterior pelvic tilt into the ground. And then I'm going to flex some of my core muscles and bring my belly button 20% to my spine. So this is like, if you're super weak, this is super basic. Like you can't lift, you're in a lot of pain, you're bedridden. You go into this position and you just did the traction, you just did the rotational lateral lumbar stretch, you just did the piriformis stretch. Now, and then I'm going to squeeze my inner core, my belly button, 20% to my spine for 10 seconds as I exhale. Okay, and you can see I got rid of this part, right? There's no space. So now I'm going to breathe out or breathe in, and then I'm going to do the same thing. You bring your hips down, no space here. Flex my core a little bit. So I'm trying to re-engage those muscles and also just help with having your hips down, bring it into a posterior pelvic tilt, and that's going to be really helpful on kind of helping out with pain and re-engaging that core to help you progress and move forward out of it. And then you can even start going into some glute bridges to get your glutes engaged. So you're here. So that is the anterior, posterior pelvic tilt. I guess that's kind of the main stuff right there, is realigning the hips, maybe. Traction, definitely with the ball. Rotational lateral lumbar stretch, definitely. This is a core engaging, which is good. The piriformis stretch is good. So these are all best bang for your buck. But these are like really basic rehabs for your low back. Having a nerve, kind of your disc tense up, and you might not have bulged it or herniated it, or you might have. That's not what matters. I'm just working with the limitations and whether you have an injury or not, or where you have limitations and where we can progress, basically. There is another core exercise I would do. So here is a band, and this is going to be another way to engage your core. Again, so review. You do realigning your hips if you want, with a partner or by yourself, and then you would have the traction with the ball, then rotational lateral lumbar stretch, piriformis stretch, breathing with your core engaged with the posterior pelvic tilt on the ground, and then now here's another core exercise to do with a band and like a pole or something. So I'm here and I'm basically going to stand on one foot, okay? And I'm going to make sure that this part of my body is the tallest part of my body. And then I'm going to bring my belly button 20% into my spine to engage my core. And then I'm going to keep a little bit of slight bend in my elbow, but honestly, you kind of just keep your arms straight. So again, I'm bringing, come over here, Lauren. Basically, I'm bringing my belly button 20% to my spine, and that's the biggest thing. My belly button, 20% to my spine, because I want my core to get engaged. You might have a weak core, and that's why you got injured in the first place, okay? You need to get your core stronger doing this. You can also, so again, 20% to the spine, the highest point of my head, chin tucked, right? I'm having good posture. So 20% to my spine. You can start progressing and put a Bosu ball under you, or a pad, a foam pad under you to make it harder, okay? And then also you can move into doing planks. You can start with planks on the ground, but you can also do planks on the ball like this as a progression. And I'm gonna squeeze my glutes. And this is gonna be really good for your core too. And then the last thing I wanna show you is I'm gonna be on the bed here and I'm gonna do a nerve glide. So if you have numbness in your feet, if you have pain going into your hamstring and calf, into your glute, try this. I have 2 different ways to do a nerve glide, and physical therapists are going to show you this after they work on you. I mean, you should always try to get manual work done by a professional, and a chiro or a physical therapist, a doctor. But these nerve glide I'm about to show you will help too. So there are 2 ways you can do this nerve glide. I think one is better than the other, but there's 2 ways you can do a nerve glide, and this can help nerve pain and desensitize. So we're going to desensitize. It's going to help with pain and honestly just progressing through your injury and limitation. So you can go down into this position and hold the back of your knee, and you basically go for 7 seconds. You're going to plantar flexion, and then 7 seconds dorsiflexion. Okay? If you start feeling like a lot of numbness and your feet go numb, then you probably should stop. But if it feels like a light stretch and it feels good, maybe some slight tingles is fine. But if it gets better over time, continue. But if it gets worse, don't do it. But then the reason why I like doing it this way is a better way. You could put a pillow, you could put pillows right here, have your hips all aligned. And because I feel like I can start measuring my stretch a little bit more and how much range of motion I have. So I like doing a nerve glide like this. I'll be watching TV at night. I'm holding 7 seconds plantar flexion, 7 seconds dorsiflexion, okay? And I'm getting a really deep stretch right here, and I'm desensitizing the nerves to help with, honestly, decreasing my pain. And then you could also, after doing all this, you could go on a 10-minute walk, and stay away from movements that might hurt you in the gym. Get your glutes and core a lot stronger, and focus on building and progression within your core and glutes, which I can do a part 2 on, of how to move back into the gym if you are like bedridden or something like that. So that is I don't even know how many steps that was, but those are some steps I do for at home, quick little rehab for low back, maybe pain in your glute, or nerve pain coming from a disc in your low back. Again, I'm not a doctor, so this is more just like practical advice. So hopefully it's helpful. Write a comment if it was helpful. If you have any questions, again, go see a professional. And hopefully it was helpful. Subscribe.